meeting of the ARPA Commission on April 4th, 2022 at 1:30 in the afternoon. And the first item on our agenda is roll call, which I believe everyone is here except for Samantha Hills and Robin Campbell. And here comes Robin. So the next thing is for approval of minutes, and the only minutes that we haven't approved yet are the ones from the public hearing on the 21st. I don't know if you all saw those.
I don't know if it's just me, but I can barely hear anybody talking. Is anybody else, Jenny or others?
Yes, I was about to move. I thought it was on my end.
I'm deaf too.
Is there a different microphone?
Talk again. Okay, I didn't hear.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
Trying the band room first, so. Yeah. All right.
You want to start that first part over, just so that we have no sound.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, since you guys weren't all able to hear us. The first part is the approval of minutes of March 21st, 2022. And if someone wants to make a motion to approve them, we can talk about them and move on with that.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from 3/21.
Second.
Any discussion about them? All right, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any- I don't see anybody opposed, anybody abstaining? No. Okay, all right, so we're good with that. Correspondence, I don't believe we have any to talk about. Present to speak, is anyone here present to speak from the public? All right, I don't see anyone. No one's on video to do that. So.
Is
next
Alan
thing-
Humphrey in the room?
He is, and we're gonna talk about his thing first, so,
Okay, good, thank you.
well, second, actually, but, we'll get there very fast.
Okay.
Unfinished business, we have the two tabled ARPA projects. The one, ARPA 7 is the air conditioning for the Homewood School band room, and we tabled it because you needed to get some firmer pricing, so,
I'm still waiting on,
okay,
correct.
all right. So should we just keep it tabled?
Yeah, and I thought because you had moved it, whatever your last meeting was, I thought you had put it in the second round of funding. Am I wrong about that?
We didn't approve it
No, we didn't approve it.
because I think my concern was that we would approve too little an amount.
Yep.
And then if we did an entire, let's say we use the rest of the money that was available, but we wouldn't have enough. So, but I'm hoping by the next time we go to public hearing, we're ready to approve things, that you'll have a better idea of what it is. Because I wouldn't want us to, cut ourselves short. And then enough funding.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on numbers, so. So when is that time frame? I guess is my question. Like, do you have a date that would be by?
Well, so it looks like we're gonna need to have a public hearing pretty fast. Like if we actually want to move on some of these items that are on this agenda today, in order for them to be used in time, then we need to have a public hearing later this month, I think.
But there's not a lot left of the first tranche of funding.
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
I thought there was not
Yeah,
enough at all to do.
Yeah,
I think there's a little bit left, so it
There's-
depends on what your quote is. So I don't know that we're rushed for a public hearing because it's not like we're going out to purchase something or start something right now.
there's 37,000 left in the first tranche.
You're gonna have to have a second public hearing as well, though, correct?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes,
Because your second round of funding.
but I don't,
Okay,
think-
so I'm sorry, maybe if I didn't
maybe a
understand
couple
that.
of weeks,
Yeah.
couple, within a month.
Okay. What's it within a month? The second town meeting?
The second town meeting, or the second public hearing,
Okay,
where we could take action afterwards.
yeah, I'll get, if that's what it's gonna take, then.
Okay,
On this item, we really, it went before the public hearing already, so we could take action in a regular meeting if Phil had new information, right?
but I think it was tabled, it didn't go to the last public hearing, though, did it?
It did, because we were ready, it was in the approvals
Oh, okay,
process.
yeah, so then yes.
I was just hesitant to approve it at 20,000, thinking that was such an old number that it was probably wrong.
So it was already heard.
It's hard. So if you had, if somebody came to you next week at our next meeting, we could potentially take action on
You wouldn't have to go back?
it. We already had the public hearing. The only thing that the project was heard, that's my understanding. I don't know if anyone feels differently about. We heard about the project. It's getting a more realistic cost update, but it doesn't change the scope of the project that we put before the public.
Okay,
So, yeah, so in 2 weeks, we could potentially take action on that with a solid number. That's less than 37,000. If you wanted to get it done before July. Does that make sense? If
done
it's-
before July meeting,
Well, if you wanted to use the
Approval
first
for
tranche,
one.
yeah, we could approve it to be used out of the second tranche, but then you can't use it until after July 1st.
which is okay, because I would probably be able to get it in the band room anyways before that point.
Okay, so that's good to know too, because we could use that 37 for,
That was my understanding from the, what I, in a meeting, was that just the town meeting that we had? That was my understanding, was that we were looking at moving this project to after July 1 for that funding anyways. So, I mean, I'm glad to get prices and you can determine whether you want to put it in first round or second round, but know that I probably couldn't do anything until after July 1 anyways,
okay,
because the band room is going to be occupied.
okay, that's perfect. That's great.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
anything else to talk about with that one? So I'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting for possible action.
And I'll press my quotes.
Okay. All right, the next one's ARPA 8, which is the workout pavilion at River Road Athletic Complex. And I think, and Stuart and Alan, is this the same thing as this project, or is it, it's different, it's the
Different.
drainage, right?
Yeah.
So,
Separate.
so the reason why we tabled the workout pavilion is because you all thought that was like a low priority thing. So we can just,
Is it possible to table it again? And-
yep,
Okay.
yep, we just keep it tabled.
I think that's what we'd like to do.
Okay, well, that's easy then. So
Sure.
then we can do, you know, what, I think I want to skip, because I know, because Alan can't stay long, and he wanted to talk about this drainage project, which was already received. I had it on the wrong list as a project to be received, but we received it last time. So would you all be okay with him just talking about ARPA 18, which is $20,000 for drainage of the road?
So I would just like to say a few things and maybe give an update as well. I handed out some pictures, if you could all take a look at them. I originally submitted the project and I realized that I should have gone the safety route with it. That's really what it is. It's, in my opinion, it's a serious problem that it's definitely going to be a lawsuit at some point to the town. That track gets used year round, even in the winter. And I watched people walk on this glare ice to go around the track. Somebody's gonna slip and fall at some point, and they're gonna sue. So you can see that in a lot of the pictures. There are two other pictures in this little stack that I left. The one that looks like no ice, just the pool of water, that's from 1 day's worth of rain last week. 1 day, and it's inches deep. And there's a final picture where you see someone's feet and some green boxes. That's right underneath the scoreboard area. So those are electrical boxes, and they are completely filled with water. And the electrical, they're about 2 feet deep inside those boxes. So it's about 2 feet of water in that spot. So we currently have the circuit breaker off to the scoreboard because nobody's using the scoreboard. But if the scoreboard was on, that water could potentially be electrified water. And, you know, one kid walks up to it and touches it, sticks his foot inside of it, and then that's a whole other problem. So that's the update with that. I think it's very, very serious. I didn't really get that point across when I was submitting the paperwork initially. Yeah, I think it absolutely needs to be addressed, and it could potentially be the #1 priority that we have that we're asking for.
Anybody?
So if I could add to that, this is Stu. Thank you, Alan, for being here today and bringing those pictures. You know, it's like peeling an onion a little bit. As we get involved with this issue, we find that there's always a little more that needs to be done. So not only is it a priority, we feel, but we're concerned that the 20 grand might not cover it. We might want to go to a little higher on some estimate. Alan has met with Knight Construction. And they came in at 20 grand, right, Alan? So we're thinking if we can go to 30, we're happy to give the money anything back that we don't use. But we're concerned that as we get into this and start digging, that there might be more costs.
Is there like an actual plan, like has the town engineer looked at it?
No.
No?
I just talked to Knights, and that 20,000 was to put, to dig down about 3 feet, put piping in, and then put like crushed stone and other fill, and it would direct the water out of the field area and then out where that track area is. He said it was like a 10,000 to do these 2 pipes, and the additional 10,000 was in case they came across concrete that they would have to pull out, or if they had to remove the construction equipment and then put the construction equipment back in. So that cost was not factoring in the area, the electrical area. So that would assume that would be another, you know, pipe that they would have to lay down over there to drain that area.
Other cost.
I think having Carl look at the whole project would help us get to what we think the cost was.
Yeah.
A little bit better estimate to make sure that it's encompassing everything it needs to be, right? So first you thought it was just near the workout equipment. Now it looks like it's a little farther back, and making sure that if we're gonna do this project, it's the right whole project.
I can call Carl.
So
Yeah, I mean, and I just know from all the years of like building and adding on down there is or was a master plan that was, you know, the drainage and the electrical, and there is other stuff buried in there in certain places. So Carl knows where all that is, and maybe he would say, oh no, you just need to connect to something, or I don't know what that, and that's, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't know if anyone knows, like Troy, I don't know if you looked at it.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what size pipe they're putting in? Did he tell you what they were doing, or are they just putting 4-inch pipe?
I want to say 4-inch pipe.
So they just went under drains. There's no catch basins or anything that they're gonna add.
I think he was just gonna run it off into the woods.
So we should definitely get the town engineer called to make sure we're putting water where it should be going. It's, you know, part of the process that we're not dumping the water on another piece of property.
I think you have to get,
Or we have to.
an 820, is it 824?
An
A land
824,
use, a land use.
an 8-24,
Because you
yeah.
can't dig up stuff without getting a permit from. Well,
Right,
Mike would
we
know.
need an 824, Mike.
If it's a project, well, it's just a project on existing town property, correct? There's no new land involved.
No, but it's a new project that was not part of the original plan, so.
Yeah, I mean, it might require a planning and zoning review, but it likely won't require an 824. So if the zoning regs would require a review, then they may need to do that, but it wouldn't need an 824 because there's no purchase, sale of land or easements, et cetera.
So where does that leave us? That leaves us with,
Carl.
Yeah.
yeah, get Carl in.
And then maybe we'll have, by the time this goes to a public hearing, we'll have some more information and more solid. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say have Carl look at the entire walking track and take care of anything, all of it, now. Because I don't know, I think when they built the walking track, like there was like work done in certain areas. But they had to bring in fill and they had to do different things. So I don't know, but the problem at the electrical box is
It's a big problem.
a big
And
problem.
is it a dip in just that side and what's causing it now? Because I know from walking to the track just the last year and a half, that seems to be the most troubled spot. There's some other spots where water pools a little, but nothing like that area off the track.
Yeah,
Knights was, they made a comment, that the entire area from the baseball field down is all sloped. So it catches in certain spots, but that's where all the water goes. So
yeah,
even if you just walk across the grass, you're sinking in like an inch,
Hmm. Yeah,
And all the rains we had last year do some
yeah.
damage
And-
over there.
You know, that whole field is really only like less than 15 years old.
Yeah.
And it was filled in over years, like all the road material. There's a lot of things that are in that ground that they just use to fill it in. And it's probably settling and things are happening that are different, so. Probably some bad concrete in there,
And
so,
as Christina said, there should be a master plan somewhere in your department, and I think the selectman's office may have a copy of that, of what these stages were, because I think there's other things planned in the future for that area, like a facility of some sort, like bathroom, like running water. So, yeah, you may want to have that with you when you go with Carl, so we'll refresh him, so to make sure that the drainage and stuff will coincide with what can go in there in the future.
So I will be with Carl at 4 tonight. Will you be here at 4?
I'll be here at 4. Okay.
Well, I'll talk to him, so we'll set something up, because he'll be here in section.
Oh, okay.
So that's something Public Works could participate in.
You mean the project itself?
If you try to put in a pipe and cover it back up, it's usually what you guys do.
Potentially.
okay, well, so it sounds like with that one,
I think it's necessary. We move forward with discussing it.
yeah,
Um,
so, okay. Any more questions or things? Are you guys good? You,
Yeah,
yeah,
I wanted to just let everybody know that we think it's a safety problem, where I originally, I don't think people thought of it like that.
Mhm.
People may have been thinking, we don't care about drainage, what do we care? Oh, there's a little puddle there, who cares about that?
yeah. But I think I mean, as far as COVID being related to COVID, a lot of people have been using that field, and that is something that we would encourage people to do, is walk on that walking
Yeah.
track, and it is really popular, so if we can fix it, then I think we should.
Absolutely.
So,
So I agree. I think it's a safety issue, Alan, looking at the amount of ice out there and knowing that people were still walking the track regardless of the ice. And it's a concern. It's not like it's a small patch that was, we can just move something. So,
right, and then if there's mud, they're gonna walk around the mud, and they're gonna create like erosion problems, just what happens on hiking trails, so, yeah. So, yeah,
It's not big enough to hop over on your walk.
So I think that it's a great project and I think we can make it work. We just need to get plans and the prices and then we can go forward. All right, so back to unfinished business, the updates on previously funded projects. I don't know if we have everybody here who would have an update on these, but maybe you know something, Erica.
Sure.
Like the air conditioning units at the senior center.
So I can talk about the first couple. The AC unit at the senior center, that project is complete. And I can't find, your emails are coming up here for me to share. There was a small savings. Do you have that spreadsheet? So whatever the savings is, there was $4,990.14 remaining in that project. So that project has been complete for some time. The TOB meeting room and equipment, that is still on hold as we determine what the best project use of those dollars is. So that's still $28,500. Nothing has been spent. The basement cleaning and concrete floors, we're waiting on the last item to be ordered, and it should leave us with just over $14,000 unspent on that. And that project will be complete once the dehumidifier is put in place. Okay. Sorry about that. The air purifiers is complete, and we came in under budget at $240 left. So altogether, it should be just from those three projects, there should be just over $20,000 available.
Oh, good.
So go back.
All right. Great. How about ARPA 3, the second ambulance?
Alex Coley.
He did go.
We're out shopping. Very dynamic world. So the vendors we've talked about the used ambulance comes up, it's gone in a week or two. So part of it is being able to find them in a timely manner. So we reached out to ambulance vendors that cover this area as well as online, and we're trying to find something that's appropriate. And be ready to come on.
Okay. How about the radios? ARPA 4 and ARPA 16.
They've been ordered, so,
Okay.
and they will come under budget from the original
We're almost
10,000.
10,000.
Yep.
And then there may still be some savings
Yeah.
in installation costs.
Oh, good.
At least about $10,000 in the budget. On the public works portion.
How about for the fire department?
Those have been ordered as well.
Mhm.
We get it under the deadline for the price increase. They won't be in for several months. Very least they're still in the factory or whatever, so
Right.
as soon as they come in, we'll be able to hand those up.
If I recall, I know I saw the PO for those, they're pretty close to the 238.
Oh, yeah,
They're-
we'll spend everything.
They're pretty close
So
to their budget.
there's no savings?
No savings on there, so.
What
No.
happened public works there? Savings?
Because we installed them ourselves.
Ah.
And,
Hey, we'll take your leftovers.
yeah.
Spend that too.
Yeah, so they do some installation on that fire trucks that's not needed at Public Works. And then there's still some cost in that budget that we think we'll be able to save some when the final bill comes.
Okay.
It still might be, so it might be over $10,000, but for sure, under the PO that went out was 10,000.
How about the air packs? Does anybody know about that?
So those can't be ordered until. Oh, sorry. No,
I don't know anything.
yeah, I know, I talked to Tom last week. He was hoping he could get a PO for them, right? Which they can't be funded until July 1, so they are after July 1.
Yeah.
Because they're in that next tranche of funding, so we can't cut a PO for that. So he was trying to keep that cost down to, for me, I think it was somewhere around 113,000, so under that budget number. And so what we did was we sent a letter from my office saying that they had funding approval based on our next tranche of funding, so that they would keep that price for them, so knowing that we intend to purchase with them, we just can't do anything until the next tranche of funding comes in.
Okay.
So it looks like that's gonna come in under budget as well.
All right, awesome.
Well, they're all things we like to hear.
Yeah. How about the generator at Public Works?
I got another quote in for a compass. So you should be happy with that one. And it came under the 69,000. So there will be some savings there.
Oh, good. All right.
Was that generator in the next tranche of funding then?
Yes, it was pushed out till July.
And ARPA, thank you, Chuck. ARPA 14, the Small Business and Nonprofit Assistance Program. I know Samantha had told me that EDC hasn't met since the last meeting. So Mike, I don't know if you have any further update on that.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing it at the EDC meeting next week, and basically be formalizing the, the application, evaluation, all those criteria, so that, we can push it out in a sort of concise application package, and then the EDC will determine how they want to do the advertising and make folks aware, and kind of run some type of public campaign to let everybody know that this has been approved.
All right, thanks. ARPA 15, premium pay for human services staff, which is not really what it is. That's just the name that was in the system. But Jenny, do you want to talk about that?
I currently don't have anything to report on that. I know that Erica and I have discussed what a job description would look like, and that's all I have so far.
So we'll work on, and I apologize, between finishing up budget things and being out sick, as you can hear. So we're gonna take a look at, we gotta determine a job description. We'll work with the union before we move forward with hiring, but we're prepared to hire before July 1.
Okay,
And then,
great. That's good. All right, that's all of them. It's all of our previously funded projects. Excuse me. So now we move on to new business, projects to be received. And this is just the formality of getting this into our system, getting all these projects, which are the ones that have come in since our last meeting, with the exception of ARPA 18, which was already received. And which we already just talked about. So if,
can I make a motion to receive ARPA projects 13, 17, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28.
your second,
Also,
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? All right. They're all received. So now we can move on to the projects to be heard by the ARPA Commission, which the first one is ARPA 13, $38,460.30 for devices for town staff and senior center.
Great. So this project is twofold. It is devices for town staff, and I shouldn't say senior center. It's our town staff that resides at the senior center. And it also is a Wi-Fi upgrade for the TOB, and then a refresh of our network closet downstairs. So the total project estimate comes in just over $38,000. What that will get us is new devices for town staff. And those devices would be and it's not every department. Some departments have actually moved to the new devices in this manner, specifically Public Works and our finance department already, when they purchased new computers, they moved to this direction. So instead of using a desktop and monitors, they would be using a laptop with a docking station and monitors. And that would allow, if we had to close the town office building, like we did during COVID, again, they could take their computer home and work from home. And so it serves two purposes, because the reality of funding a desktop and a laptop for every employee, I didn't think was the most cost-effective way. Most of our work does not allow us to have a work from home program. So that's not something we currently offer. It would mean if somebody had to go home to work from home, they could. so they could still work in that capacity. And this way we were not spending extra dollars to do so. So the hardware cost would be, again, the docking stations and laptops. There's some labor costs from our IT into there, so that portion, excuse me, is $27,946. I promise I'm not just sick, it's just. Pardon.
Okay, then the wireless refresh, it's the access point hardware configuration, $7,000, $7,054. And the wiring, which has 5 cables, at $300 a run, so that's a total of $8,554 for that part of the wireless refresh. And then the network closet refresh has a Sonic Wall rack mount kit for $140, a Cat 6 Slim Run RJ 3 to 5 feet, which is another $174. Then there's some cable for $20 and some other very long acronym, which is $900. But the whole total for that whole thing is $1,959. So altogether, we're talking about $38,460.30. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. If you do, I think Eric is coming back. But that all sounds great to me.
Yeah, the Wi-Fi here is terrible. And it's dropped several times and it depends on which portion of the building you're in. So sometimes it's terrible on the town clerk side and we don't have a problem on our side and vice versa. I was in, I'm not sure what meeting, a Board of Finance meeting, I think. And it completely went down here in the town office building. I happened to be sharing the screen for the Board of Finance that night, so they lost everything, so it came back. So this would give us better capabilities. And then cleaning up that cabinet downstairs. So I think this is critical, and the sooner we could do at least the Wi-Fi portion, the better.
Okay. I think so. Like, I think as we do these things, if someone wants to make a motion to move it to a public hearing, I think we can do that. And I'll do it. I'll make a motion that we move Article 13 to the next public hearing. You're gonna, Troy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, I should have said discussion, but did anyone want to say anything before that?
Well, I have a question. I'm almost wondering if, because we would be recipients, like if I abstained, but I wanted to. So, but I think I'd be the only one to. Okay, I'm gonna abstain just because I would be a benefit, like I would be receiving a benefit from the state, but I want you all. Okay.
All right, anything else? Okay, all in favor? Anyone abstaining?
Aye.
Other than Robin? And Jenny is abstaining as well. Anyone opposed to it? Okay, so motion passes. This will be on the next public hearing agenda. Okay, next one is ARPA 17, 35,000 for lights around the walking track at River Road. Alan, do you want to talk about that, or does Stuart want to?
So the project is to put in lighting around the track. The types of lights are going to be like the ones in a parking lot. So they're going to be reasonably high up, and they're going to light even more area than just the walking track. It'll go, past it in both directions. So it's going to light up the park much more than just the walking track area. Number 35,000 was given to us by Joe Colangelo, who says he could complete the job for around that much money.
And like, I guess I see a tie-in with this and the drainage, so, because we shouldn't put in electricity until we get the drainage fixed, right? But I think there was a plan to put these lights in for
So,
many years.
If I can just say one more thing, so there are multiple areas where the electricity goes through to the other side of the park, and right down the middle, there's lines that go down to the area that separates the soccer field and the baseball field. So Joe said that since that's already like there, he would just go off of that, and then he can go either direction. So it's not gonna be like he has to dig up tons and tons of stuff. It's like half the groundwork has been laid out already.
Mhm.
So I believe also he said that this cost would incorporate Public Works doing the digging and not hiring another company to come in and do the digging.
Oh, how many lights is it? Poor Erica can't talk.
Speak up, will you?
Not sure, I think, I had it on
There's 8.
the sheet of paper I submitted. I think it's around 8 lights.
I think it's 8.
Oh,
Numbers.
did you go? Did-
No, they're still there.
Okay,
We can share them so people can see.
8 lights, 8 lights.
so the lights that are there now that, that, though, are you saying Public Works helped put in the lights that are there now? And do you know like what that process was? Was it?
Yeah, we dug it up. It was a 1-inch line that they had light poles already, like the columns. So they were already there. So we dug them up. So we just went from one side, connected we put the pipe in, we covered it with sand, we took pictures, and that was it basically.
So you just did a trench?
We just dug a trench, and when it came to where the light pole was laid out, we put the pole in, then carried on to where it was. We did the ones around the court, the lighting around the court and everything. That's all there.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't be a problem where I talked to Joe about that. It's not, I don't, Public Works, they're new excavators, so they shouldn't have an excuse to do anything.
Can I share the screen so we can look at So these are the proposed lights.
So those, the ones around the curve, those are the ones that are already there.
But these aren't on the walking track, these are. on
No, right, those are the parking lot lights.
Right.
So the other, those lights and the ones on the basketball court and the volleyball court, like that kind of gets that whole area in general. So it would just be the addition of the eight around the outside would hit the whole track.
That was gonna be my question. You felt like all the other lights lit up the major of the track enough?
So you still have to go out to bid on it though, right? And get all your prices and get the scope, and I don't know, does that need an 824? Did you have to do that for the lights? Last one?
Mike, Mike, do you believe that needs an 824?
Last one did.
Yeah, because it's making light and the neighbors need to be aware and all that.
Well, actually, it went to the commission for permit approval. It didn't go for an 824. It just went for planning and zoning commission approval as part of their site plan.
Yeah, it might have been part of the original project, so that didn't need additional like 24 review too. But it definitely for a permit, that makes sense. So,
This is a good idea, but I would want to see what comes from the drainage. And look from Carl before we move forward with this project, making sure that we're not looking at drainage issues anywhere else. And then doing this as the last piece.
Or, I mean, maybe combining these two projects and just calling it calling it walking track improvements. That includes drainage and lighting. And that way, if Carl gets involved, and you have these different contractors and you're digging things up, then everybody can do it all at once. But
Yeah, because if you said that in the middle there, or where the what do you call this thing, the scoreboard is shut off.
Yeah.
Like the breaker is off, they may have to reenact that somehow, and that to, to bring the electricity out the back, so. Yeah,
Making it one project. That way you're not doing something separate, and I don't think you should piecemeal it, like work on this type of field.
yeah.
While this is being done, it should be a whole project.
it'll be easier to go out to bid on that too,
Absolutely.
versus going out multiple times with different kinds of vendors. So, I don't know, does that make sense to Stuart?
I have a question. This is Stu. If this goes to public review, I'm concerned about the citizens of the town, the community getting a little upset on the total cost. I think the lights has a good, very, very solid chance of going through, whereas the excavation might need some explanation, and we're not quite sure of the costs on that yet. And my concern is, and maybe I'm wrong, is that if you keep them separate, there might be a better likelihood for approval, but from the town, but I'm not sure.
I don't want us to feel like we were hiding something so that something else passed, right? I think the intent is whole improvements on the walking track, but that drainage is included. But if we say yes, and we feel like we separate them, you put in all these lights, you're gonna come around to that side of the track, and then what happens? You find out later, once you're done with the other project, the cost is still the same cost, and we're explaining all of the parts of the project. I think it's better to put them together in a more realistic,
I agree.
a
Yeah,
holistic view. And that in order to put the lights in, the drainage has to be addressed. So I think it's better to put them together and then get the support you need for the whole project. Because if we say yes to this, and then are we fooling townspeople because we wanted a smaller amount of money? I don't think that's anyone's intention, but that certainly would appear. And then we come back and say, oh, we need more money to put these lights in because there was a drainage problem over here. So we look at the whole drainage issue.
And you might find that it'll move along quicker, because as Erica said, if you keep them separated and then you do the drainage, then you have to get everything done, and then you can start the bidding process for the lights. I think if you put it all in one, it'll move quicker and you'll get it all done.
Yeah, I agree.
that's,
And then we made sure we've looked at the entire project because all of these pieces fit together.
and Stuart, I can tell you that anything that we've done down at the park, the town is behind 100%. We really don't have a lot of people who've been upset about any of the different things that we had on over the years. And I don't think that this price tag is really even that high for people to be upset about it. I think that they want to see it maintained, and they want to see it working as it should. And I think it'll have a lot of support.
Good, I appreciate your comments.
All right. Anything else to say about that? So I think, well, we could either make a motion about it now to table it, or combine it, or table it and combine it, or
And I make a motion that we combine ARPA 17 and 18 into one project. And we can have a date set for public hearing, right?
no, but it'll be in a few weeks. Do you guys think that you'd have enough time to get some bids Probably not in a couple of weeks.
I think. So can I, my motion to combine them and then move it forward to a public hearing, doesn't, so that'll be my motion.
Hmm.
And then.
I'll
discussion,
second it.
Okay,
So I don't think saying that will put us a limit, doesn't mean it has to go in the next public hearing. If we don't think it's ready for it, maybe, but
Yeah.
at least,
it'll be in the queue.
right, I think it needs to go in, and maybe they'll have some of their answers.
Any more discussion about that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody against? Any abstentions? All right. All right, so that one's, that's what's gonna happen with that one.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay, the next one to be heard is ARPA 35,000 for a new furnace for Wellington Hills Fire Department firehouse. You wanna talk about
Yeah, basically the furnace that heats the bay area needs replacing. It's kind of snuck up on us, and the furnace guy said, hey, you guys really need to do something with this. They had to come in for service. They've been coming in for service. It was kind of a new thing on the horizon, but it's old in that it's old and needs replacement. I don't have, I talked, Chief Snyder's away on vacation right now, and I was away. You know, I don't have specifics at this point as far as the system that we're looking at. So we're not quite there yet. We're in that get prices, figure out the details mode, I think. So I don't think we're quite ready for a public hearing. So I guess it'd be best to come back
All right,
at a later meeting with a little bit more information, more specifics.
all right, so do you want to make a motion to table it?
Yeah, Arizona.
Sorry,
Yeah. that's fine.
and the document just won't come up. I was trying to share it. Yeah.
But kind of, I think, sort of what I said.
But, so you don't know, and I didn't see it in the notes when I had read them before.
Yep.
How old your furnace is?
It's not original to the building, but it's. I think it's, don't, you know, like 30-ish years
Okay.
or so, and we were debating that.
It's not been on CIP at all?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. It's kind of one of these things that the furnace guy said, well, you really got, you're doing something with this. And now it's like, you need to do something with this. And you got to replace the heating. So I'm not sure whether we want to go with conventional, replace the furnace, or some different heating ways. That's what we have to work on. So we know we need to do something. It's just how much and exactly what. So yeah, I'll move we table.
Just for peace of mind, it may be helpful to know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
sure.
old category to apply to everything
Yes,
in town, so.
sure.
And
I got you.
and if the, furnace guy has been telling them for some time, they should be doing something about it. Why does that come up on CIP?
Yeah, no, it's one of those like that the guy's service he talks to some,
Yeah.
sometimes the word doesn't quite get where it needs to get, and finally it's like, and they kind of shake you harder, I can't keep doing it.
Right.
But Stuart's point is right, like, well, what is it there? The heat exchanger.
Right, I
What
mean,
was-
Years ago, the heat exchanger at the South Station brought it out,
Right.
pushing carbon monoxide into the building.
Yeah.
And they found holes in it when they inspected it.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the reason.
Right. I apologize for not having a little bit more today.
That's okay.
Yeah,
But everybody,
yeah. Last I knew, eventually we're in, you gotta hit the reset, but anyway.
So Tom made a motion to table it, and Stu, did you second it?
Sure.
And then we discussed. Any more discussing? All right, all those in favor of tabling ARPA 20, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Okay. Thank you, Tom. Moving on to ARPA 21, $25,000 for FuelBank and household heating expenses for human services. There's Jen.
Hi, everyone. So with the COVID-19 pandemic having lasting economic impacts in the families in the community, one of the services my department is called on to assist with is home heating, either the costs of fuel or repairing the devices they use for heat. From January to the time that I submitted this application, which was March 11th, I had 18 requests on the FuelBank for assistance or repairs totaling over $5,000. When I created this submission, I put some demographic information in here for you just so you could see that the FuelBank is usually utilized by homeowners or elderly and disabled people, and a lot of people have children in their families. I'm requesting $25,000 to augment our off-budget FuelBank, so it wouldn't be any cost to the town going forward. And just so you are aware, I do currently have a FuelBank. It isn't funded entirely by residents' donations, and with the increase in heating costs right now, I'm not sure we'll be able to keep up in the long term.
Questions for Jen?
So I'll move that we go, ARPA 21 goes to public hearing.
Second, so we can talk about it.
Second.
Okay. Okay, so Erica, second. All right, so let's discuss.
So a portion of that is just FuelBank for if I call you and I need assistance getting oil. And then some of it would be used for expenses. Do you do that now, Jenny? The
Yes,
expenses
yes, I do.
portion comes out of FuelBank as well?
Yes, I do. If there's no other way possible for them to be able to afford what they need to have heat in their home, then that is what we use the FuelBank funds for.
So this is no change in current funding abilities for you. It's just adding dollars from ARPA to that pot of money.
Jenny, how many,
Correct. It would be like a one-time thing.
is everyone who's asked for funding been fully funded and gotten the amount that they asked for, or? Like,
It
is there a
depends.
threshold?
Sometimes there is a threshold. If it becomes a safe and healthy issue, then I can't say no. But I will work with them to utilize other programs. We have the state energy assistance program. Whenever possible, I use that. However, that usually ends in May, so it's not available year round. I also have the town fund, and if it's possible for somebody to be able to qualify for Operation Fuel funds, I do send them that way as well. So there are other options for people, but it's easier for most people to be able to use the FuelBank because it's quicker. The application process is very streamlined, and it's available year round.
I know in the past, Jenny and her department have attempted to do fundraisers to augment the donations from residents. That's been working for her department, but over the last 2 years, that hasn't been an option. So the generosity of our residents to keep this program going has been incredible, really. But I think it's important to be able to put some dollars into that. And I think from the ARPA intention standpoint, this is a way to give back to folks who were hurt by and the ability to.
But if this year the spend on 5,000, so this would take 5 years to spend down, and we have to spend the funds in less than 5 years. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. We have to spend them by 2026.
So maybe it's too much. Well, plus you are gonna get some other donations, I would assume, just to people's gifts, but
Right.
Have there been any expenses, which is why I asked Jenny about the heating expenses? Have there been expenses that you had to turn down because you don't have enough money and providing fuel is takes precedence, right? You had to determine where prioritize, and so the fuel into their furnace has been priority over maybe a lesser needed repair.
Yes. Yes, sometimes we have to go with a quick fix or something like that for a family until they can fund it themselves or they can qualify through some other program.
Do you expect this to be an ongoing request to the town in the out years after the ARPA funding goes away?
Absolutely not. The fuel bank as it is right now is funded entirely by the generosity of our wonderful residents for our wonderful residents. It's never cost anything to the town and it never will.
Can I ask, what account does the money, is this a separate account, just from an accounting point of view? Where do you get the money? How does that work? Like, is it in a line item?
it's a special fund,
So
right?
I guess what I'm getting at
Special fund that
is if we put the 25,000 in the special fund, could that be considered expending the money if we allocate it in the fund?
It would go into the fuel bank fund, which is earmarked exclusively for fuel bank expenses.
So I guess, does that mean we've spent the money or?
No, so
No.
one of the restrictions of use is replenish reserves or rainy day funds. Is this considered one of our reserves? It's not.
It's a special one.
So I agree with the thought behind it and the purpose behind it, but I'd want some clarification that this wouldn't be just putting the dollars in there without, if we don't know that we could spend 25,000 before 2026 based on the amount we're spending now. And so would that be looked at as replenishing any of our reserves or rainy day funds? For ARPA purposes, so they consider this fund in any of those categories.
Right.
We might not, but I don't know that for reporting purposes.
And that's why I was asking too, if we could increase the amount that people get.
Right.
So that, like.
But we absolutely could. That's a strong possibility. At this point, the fuel bank offers 100 gallons. We could offer 150. And furthermore, the $5,000 that I've expended is from January to March. That's 2 months. And that's, I don't think I would have any issue whatsoever being able to expend $25,000.
In 2 years, or it's not really 2 years, it's 3 years. I can't.
We have to encumber it by 2024 and spent by 2026 and 2026.
Right.
But so. I have mixed emotions about all that. I think Jenny could alter her program so that the dollars could go out the door, but then I have concerns about our residents relying upon that afterwards, that they know this is a source, and then when that source dries up, have we created a problem where some haven't been able to sustain?
It would be the same as
Have to
any
go
of
back.
my other programs. It would be the same as it is now, where this is what we have and it's a Band-Aid. We have other programs to provide long-term sustainability to our residents. It's the goal of my department is to not be needed. So yes, I will help somebody keep their lights on, and yes, I will help somebody keep their house warm. But the long-term goal of it and everything that I do in my department is to teach people how to not need me.
So you're saying we pay first before you send them to another long-term program outside of the town. Right, we could fund it before they go outside of town. And that would help ensure that the funds were utilized within the time frame needed.
We could do that. And frequently that's what occurs in October when I have people coming in for energy assistance, because the application process takes a while on the access agency end. So I can submit the application, but it's not immediately processed. It could take weeks. At that point, they may need fuel, and that's a frequent time of year that I will use the fuel bank to just give them a little bit until they get to that point where the energy assistance program will cover.
I don't have oil in my house. So is 150 gallons, is that a lot in a week?
No.
No.
No,
It's enough to
but
get
like
you.
if you a couple of weeks in the hot winter.
Mhm.
I mean, like, to me, that, like, this money is supposed to be for rescue, right? So if we could increase and
Right.
really help people, give them a really big relief next year.
Could we fill a tank instead of?
Yeah,
getting
fill
in
it-
the middle?
Oh my
Right,
goodness.
but
I would be so happy to be able to fill somebody's tank.
150 is like a minimum you have to order from
Oh.
oil companies in that time of year. So depending on the time of year, it's either 100 gallons or 150 gallons. So where their tank might be, 330. And so, they don't, it doesn't go very far.
No.
But if you
yeah,
fill
it
somebody's
keeps them
tank
warm.
right now, it'll probably be.
It would probably take them
Probably
until
Well, that too,
November.
that's another thing, like, the next year is gonna be
Mhm.
so much more, so in that case, like, if, as long as people understood, this is like a one-time thing, potentially.
Right.
Mhm.
Assuming all 25 doesn't get spent all in one year, then I think it is like a special rescue thing. That's a good way for it to get dispersed, because it's going through an already existing program.
Yes. But just being able to say to someone, I can imagine, Jenny, you've got my family of 4 calls you and I need oil or the heat's gonna go off today. And if you were to tell them not only we're gonna get them through a couple of weeks, but you could fill their tank, which might, be a month or two, depending on the season, would make a huge impact on the family.
And I would assume, Jenny, that you'll still get donations from residents for the fuel fund that you'll be able to kind of put aside while you're spending this money first, right? So you get what I'm saying? In other words, you'll continue to receive donations from residents for this purpose, but you won't need to spend that right off because you'll have this money to spend first.
Well, it all goes into the same account. So I wouldn't be able to say, the $400 that I'm spending is ARPA money as opposed to, from Jim down the road. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, what if we say that we're spending that money
Right.
first?
Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
important part, because we need to know that the 25,000 was spent before a certain amount of time, and it was
Gotcha.
utilized. And Donna
Yeah.
can chime in on
So-
how she thinks that would work.
All right.
I think Jenny would have to track it. If we're gonna disperse to the fuel fund and not to the homeowner, then Jenny would have to carefully track it.
Yep.
And audit, quality.
But the other alternative would be not to to keep the funds in the ARPA fund. And then Jenny would just make a request for that to get paid out of that.
Yes.
Up
which
to the
I think is
25,000.
cleaner way to do it,
Yeah, yeah,
rather than give it to Jenny to account for.
yeah.
Then we know it's spent first, and then
Yes.
still able to take people may still take donations knowing that the ARPA money is going to dry out.
Yeah, and maybe, you could collect some good data too. Not that you don't have good data, but just the existence of this and what it could do this year, that could help you with future fundraising. Because people could hear what the real need is.
Right, when you put a new goal of 25,000, now you can say, this is what we did with it.
Yeah. Okay, so there was a motion made to bring it to public hearing. It was seconded. We have discussed. Any more discussing? The only thing I would say is for when we do go to public hearing, 'cause I'm guessing there's support, just to have like the actual parameters like really mapped out. So we know what we're saying yes to or no to, but
Yes. So saying yes to disperse to the household.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, so all in favor of bringing this to public hearing? Say yes. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Jenny's abstaining. Okay, so that passes. So we'll have that on the next one.
So I think that takes care of our, did we replenish a fund
Right,
concern?
Right.
Set up a new program.
right. Okay, the next one, ARPA 23, 36,000 for summer camp supplement. And this is a joint submission by Human Services and Parks and Rec.
22, Madam Chair.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. No, we did not do 22. So the next one is ARPA 22, 25,000 for a housing fund for residents in need. And that would be Human Services. That's all. So Jenny, you want to talk about that one?
Yes. So on August of 2021, I conducted a needs assessment of over 100 residents on my department's radar, and the bulk of the respondents indicated that they needed assistance with electricity, housing, and internet expenses. The housing is the thing. There are many programs for assistance with electricity and internet. So I am requesting funding to assist with housing. I would not, it would be very similar to the FuelBank in that I do already have an off-budget fund for housing assistance with very minimal amounts of money in it. This fund would cover expenses to include financial payments for back rent or mortgage or for housing repairs. At this point, hold on a second. I picked $25,000 because I thought that was a fair sum and it was the same as the FuelBank. I'm not married to that amount of money. And other than that, I currently don't have a housing assistance program. And at this point, if somebody comes to me with the need for paying the mortgage or paying the rent or something like that, I cannot help them. I can send them to organizations that may or may not be able to help them, or I can help them with their electric bill or something like that to kind of free up some funds for them to put toward their housing costs. So this is kind of a new initiative, and a lot of people have obviously had some lasting financial impacts from COVID. So that's what I'm requesting with this.
Do you have a model program from any other town that does something similar?
Did you hear, Erica just asked if you
Sorry,
have
I
a,
didn't hear it.
yeah, I know.
We can't either.
If you, are any other towns doing this? Is there like a model, a program that we could model this after?
I'm not aware of any. I could ask around, but I'm not aware of anyone doing this.
I'm just trying to imagine what the limit would be, what the use would be.
Yeah.
Similar to some of the concerns we had on the EDC side. How are you justifying, what falls into, a housing fund need? And so how are they qualifying? Are there limits?
Jenny, how is you said that you have minimal funds and you have a fund now that is minimal. Where does that, is that from donations as well?
Entirely donations, and I believe there's maybe $80 in there.
I like the idea, but I think understanding how it's going to be implemented so that understanding that it wouldn't be finite, right? When the 25,000 is done, there wouldn't be another program because I don't know if the town could sustain that. And so. how
So
could
in the
we-
past, I guess my department had something like that, so I could create a program and model it like that used to be. Of course, I would put my own, spin on things with, limits and updating everything like that, as well as seeking income information, because the program that was in my department years ago did not have a place on the application for that. But this is a program I could very easily write if you need to see those kind of specifics.
Yeah.
I think before we could go to the public with it, I think we need to see what this, I would feel more comfortable with you with the specifics on. Because the public will be asking those things.
Yeah.
I love the concept of it. It's another way to use these funds to help those who've been hurt by COVID, but helping understand how we utilize the dollars.
Yeah, and I know, if someone's furnace breaks, then Jenny can help them with that. But if someone's plumbing, if something goes wrong with their well, she can't help them with that. And this is the kind of fund that she could. And so I do like that. Rent and mortgage, that's, I don't know.
I agree with you there.
I think that falls under a different kind of need, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think we need to say, is our housing need for rent and mortgage, or is it for housing repairs? Because I see them as two different things, and one could go a lot quicker than the other.
Yeah.
And what justifies not being able to pay your rent or your mortgage this month? Because I
Right.
bought a new Prada bag and and it was more money and I had my nails, like, I know that you don't have, I know you have other justifications and qualifications for them to meet that, but I do like the concept better of buying or using the funding to replace the plumbing or help fix that versus the rent being late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jenny, does that make sense? Do you get requests for things like, I'm
Yes,
thinking
yes, I do.
house, you need to fix your chimney, you need a new stove because suddenly, you don't have one.
Your
or-
septic is failing.
Yeah, all those things, and they're expensive things. And they're health and safety things. So, I mean, maybe that's one of
Yes, they are.
the qualifications for it. 'Cause,
Okay.
First, you'd have to qualify for your programs, right? Is like that would be the first qualifier. I mean, what? So
Oh.
understand
so-
how they qualify, like how do they qualify overall? Can anyone just come in and ask you, or do they have to qualify under certain limits for help from your department? Is my
They would
question.
have to fill out a standard form. It would be income-based.
We'd start there, but I think just helping understand that the average person who might want to see how we're spending ARPA, understand all of that process.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So is there a motion to table it then? Is that what you're saying, Erica? Or have it go potentially, maybe have it go to public hearing?
I would like to see it. Can I move that we have it come back for further discussion by the commission prior to public? We just keep it on the agenda.
Anybody second?
I'll second.
You can spell it on this. Okay, any more discussion on this? All right, all in favor? Say aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay. Oh, Jenny. abstained. All right, the next one, ARPA 23, 36,000 for summer camp supplement, which is from Human Services and Parks and Rec. Combined. Jenny, you want to talk about that one? Because I don't think.
Is Alan gone?
Yeah, he's gone.
Okay. Yep, so this proposal that we came up with is $36,000. It would cover the cost of staffing summer camp for 3 years, plus an additional $1,000 per year for 3 years for activities and programs and more to bring the camp up to a new level of greatness. The thinking is that going forward, after the 3 years are over, the summer camp program will be well established again. Hopefully greater than it was pre-COVID, and we'll have continued high enrollment, and then that will allow for the long-term sustainability of summer camp and no longer needing these funds.
Okay. Any questions?
Jenny, I think it's an amazing idea. Kudos. I think will help our residents that have kids.
I think it's not a new program. It's a recovery of an old program that was impacted by COVID. So I think it's okay from that perspective.
Right, we're not creating something new.
No.
And it's, I think for a parent to say, we could cover the cost of summer camp for you this summer would be significant for some, bonus for others. And then keeps them in the door next year. They're gonna be super excited to come back to our camp and the year to that and the year to that and tell their friends. So.
Jenny, there are funds in the operating budget to run camp this year though.
Yes,
So this is in addition to those, or?
yes,
Okay.
yes, in addition to.
Because typically their revenues offset their costs,
Right,
Right.
right.
right? So it's not as though,
In theory.
in theory, and so this way that will alleviate that. And this cost should help cover the increase in minimum wage increases.
Mhm.
And I would say take a little bit of burden, but the dollars that typically come from Parks and Rec and Jenny's budget into their funds are not to cover any of that. It's built up of their expenses. So I think from my perspective, it ensures that we can have summer camp this summer without a serious financial impact to their departments.
For the residents.
That's great.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get some people who wouldn't have come before. It will also introduce them to Hall's Pond, as their kids will go there to swim, and maybe increase the use of the pond from the town side as well.
Was this related to ARPA 24?
Yeah, Jenny, ARPA 24, how is this connected to that one? Because if that one's the campership one.
Okay, so the campership is, this would cover the cost of summer camp for the residents to attend.
Two different things.
So this is a program I wrote in 2015 and I've adapted it to 2022. What had happened in 2015 was I had utilized the money for any summer camp. This, I rewrote it to have the most recent federal poverty guidelines, as well as to include any camp in Willington, not just our summer camp, but also I know Alan plans on running a bunch of other camps as well. So this would help offset the cost of those activities as well.
So with the cost of those, would that be enough dollars to set? So the first program would fully fund summer camp this year, and then a little bit for the next couple of years, very minimal. Did I hear you say $1,000?
But it's
But-
still,
so
you're
that-
still gonna charge people to go to camp.
Right. But if they cannot afford it, then we
And
have this, which is the campership. And I already have this in my budget. It's another off budget account that I have. And this one I wrote to increase the income limits to a higher level than usual. So more people will qualify than we would normally see, because I think that it's necessary to get people to attend this program. And if money's a factor, then opening the door to more people, I think would benefit.
The understanding, as opposed to what Christina said, I thought the understanding was then we wouldn't have to charge people for summer camp this year.
That's what I thought too.
That's what I thought, is that this offset, this summer camp supplement would actually pay for the cost of summer camp, so that we wouldn't need to charge for summer camp. Is that correct?
So I think the way we wrote it was, so that way we would have the costs covered. And then we would have this, and that would build up our fund balances to be able to sustain a loss in case we needed to. Because both of us have been impacted by that.
So I guess,
So,
how is it going to be spent is the hard part, right? So it's gonna be spent on, the $36,000 will be spent on staff. So you're saying,
just that.
Staffing and
That's
activity.
Yes,
right, and so typically the money we bring in for camp pays staff plus a little bit
To build up.
to build up. So you're saying you're still going to charge people the normal price, but then use a supplement so more people might qualify. So it's not offering summer camp. I thought the intent was to offer summer camp at no cost in year one
Yeah,
to build summer camp back up.
that's what I thought.
that's
Okay,
what I
well,
thought.
maybe.
I
we
thought
can do
that as
that.
well.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't clear. I thought that I was. I apologize. I'm very sick and I'm not feeling very well at all. But
But is that your intention?
I can
Was that this year
definitely-
nobody had to pay?
I'm sorry, I can't hear a word you're saying.
She said, is your intent that this year nobody would have to pay? Or just the,
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. But at the same time, we need to, it's a valuable program and Alan and I recognize that. However, we cannot sustain a financial loss from this program. So what we're trying to do is make it affordable to people so people will go and at the same time not create any financial issues with us and our budgets. That's why we tried really hard to create a program that was fun and engaging and to purchase items that were fantastic and that we could use over and over again without blowing our budgets apart.
So, can we give away $24,000 in campership based on just those qualifiers before the money runs out? Because we can't just put it in, I don't see it as just putting it in the fund.
right,
It needs to be spent on something. So it was spent on wages and the ability to cover the cost of summer camp. That's what I thought the intent was. So I just want to make sure there's some technicalities on how the money is spent and making sure that, again, like the fuel doesn't just go into an account to build up the
right.
fund. We can't build up the reserves in the Parks and Rec and Human Resources Department with these funds. They actually have to be spent on something.
I have to say that I'm very confused as to what the problem is. Could you explain that again, please?
So we can't just take the money and put it to your departments as in a fund. It has to be spent before 2026. So if you didn't have enough qualifiers and we give you $20,000 for camperships and people don't apply for them and use them, then the money has to go back. So you're not building up your reserves.
Right, it's not a reserve. It's an off budget account. And if the money isn't used, then there's absolutely no reason why the ARPA committee couldn't just say, okay, this isn't being used. We need to use it for something else. Or say, you know what, I'm so sorry. It looks like this is a different impact than we expected.
I think the way it's helping is that it's getting revenue from families who wouldn't be able to participate otherwise. So it's, right, Jenny, like it would be in the same way as the other fund. Donna would keep it. She would say, we have a candidate. This family has 2 kids, they want to go to camp. How much is it for camp, Jenny? $300?
$200.
$200 per week?
For one person. Yes.
Okay, so so it's family says we have 2 kids, they want to go to camp for 2 weeks.
So
2
that'd be
kids, that's $800. Then Donna says, okay, and transfers $800 into the
Mhm.
camp revenue
Right.
account.
Right. And it would be exclusive to Wellington programs. So we would see it go from one to the other, no matter whether it was going to this camp or to, like I said, Alan's other camps that he intends on running. There would be a very distinct, you would see exactly where the money's going.
I mean, in that case, I could see it going really fast. If a family, how many weeks are you offering, King?
6.
6. So one kid to go to camp is $1,200.
So,
for
would that-
the family.
so everybody that applies for camp would fall under the campership? Or only certain criteria?
Well, the way I have it written right now, I have it within a certain criteria. However, we could change that.
This is Stu. I wish I could speak more to this. I just called Alan in the sidebar. And I'm a little confused because this started with Alan not having the staff, the money to pay for the staff for summer camp. Because 3 staff members cost $12,000. I just talked to him. And now I'm hearing this is turned into, we're going to provide free camps for the
Okay,
community.
so
So I can't speak to that. I wish I could, but I can't.
they're two different ones. They're
Right, got it.
two different submissions.
I
Yes.
got it.
Okay.
So the first one I can speak to, which is the supplement, which is desperately needed to give these
Yes.
programs a boost, to get these kids back into a very good program, staffed well, good out trips once in a while. The second one I can't speak to.
So he only needs to hire 9 people to run camp?
We were looking at staffing patterns that were not 9 people, but closer to 4. So we have a full-time director and then 3 other staff.
Right, that's what I heard.
How many kids? Up to?
We don't know. Up to 20, 22.
Does that match the kind of staffing we've had in the past?
Yes,
4 people for 20 kids?
yes. I believe that last year they had 3, as a matter of fact.
I know we had significantly less numbers of participants last year.
Yes, I think that there was a week or 2 where there was a significant number of people there.
I think
Again, I was not a part of summer camp last year. I was unable to devote the time from my department. So I can't really speak to that, but I do remember having a conversation with Kelly about it being pretty busy.
I'd like to see just like some data on what it was pre-COVID. So how many kids were coming pre-COVID? Because I think it was more than 20. There were some years, I mean, when my kids were little.
Right. Summer of 2019 was probably one of the biggest years we'd had after Maureen kind of resurrected the program and it was running really well. So I think if we looked at those numbers, if we go back too far, we're looking at a little bit of apples and oranges because we have fewer kids in Wilmington than we did like when our kids were younger.
Yeah.
But in 2019, I'd be curious to see what the numbers per week were in that camp year. And so I know when I talked to Alan about it, we talked about how we could offer summer camp to anyone who wanted to come this year and how we could do that. We talked about maybe if you had funding and he could offer before and after care for kids for summer camp, if that could get more kids into camp because it helped parents who needed, different hours. And so a way to entice people to come to camp in the first year. And so what he and I had talked about was how we could offer summer camp to everyone out the door and fully fund it in year one. That would give a boost to the camp to get people back in the door.
And that's what I thought.
That's what I thought.
And that's what I would be in favor of.
I think we all agree that funneling money into this program to get it back up.
Yeah.
It's an important way to do it. I would not want to see us put money to it and then it just kind of get left on the table.
Yeah.
And then we have to try to find a project for it towards the end of ARPA or give it back. But finding a way to get people interested in the program, whether it was like offer camp at half price this year and half price next year, but I thought fully funding in 1 year would be a great use of these funds, and that would give anyone, regardless of their income or their ability to pay, an opportunity too. 'Cause we want everybody back, right, in all those aspects. That's my 2 cents. Stuart, I don't know how your commission feels about it.
That's incredible. Incredible. Not sustainable, but it's incredible.
No, and fully aware that because we have these funds this year, we're able to do this. We didn't have camp at all in 2020, incredibly scaled back in 2021 because of restrictions as well as our own facilities issues. Then, in 2022, we get it back to where it was.
What's the total budget for camp? Excluding the income?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, I can't speak to that right now. I don't have it in front of me.
Mark and I.
Well, more
In 2019,
specifically-
it was split between 2 departments. So Jenny, your half in 2019, what were you spending on camp then?
In 2019,
Do you know?
I don't have it in front of me, but I did take a $6,000 loss that year.
Summer camp loss. Was all the extra income in Parks and Recs. Had to take over.
Yeah, I'm also curious how many people are from out of town versus we would need this only to be applicable to Wellington residents, but I'm sure that there's kids from other towns that come too.
I don't think we've had it. I think it's only Wellington resident. Jenny, has it been open to? Huh?
I'm sorry, I was going to say what we've done in the past is whenever we previously opened up summer camp to Ashford as well. And when families from Ashford came and needed financial assistance, the financial assistance came from their social services in Ashford. So likewise, I would assume that the town of origination would be where it would come from.
So so going back to the campership concept, you already have a fund for that? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, I did that for years.
Yeah, and that comes from fundraising too, right?
Budget.
Right.
Yes.
How much would people get from that? It wouldn't get fully funded, I'm sure.
It depends. I mean, if they need it, if they have 5 kids and all 5 want to go to camp and they can't afford to even put 10% down, then that's something we look at it on a case-by-case basis.
We're talking about free, not establishing need, aren't we?
Yeah, I guess we're talking about,
We're not saying, okay, if you make this income, you're gonna get free camp. We're saying camp's free to everybody this year.
no, but in the next year, we probably have to go to that.
Right, you gotta phase it in.
So,
It's a one-time thing, and then you go back to the campership program that we had before, and they had to demonstrate a need.
Okay, so this makes sense to me now. So what we could do is we could do the summer camp funding for 1 year and then going forward with the campership to assist easing families back into the program.
And I would think you need, I'd be afraid that you are gonna have a lot of people sign up for it and then not do it in the end, because they, you know, like what is, if it doesn't cost anything to sign up, they're going to just sign up just in case and then back out. And then you might staff up to a level that you don't actually need. So, and I don't know the workaround for that, other than have people have some skin in the game.
Usually that's what I do. I have them put 10% in the game, yes, because otherwise that's true. They will not show up and then the money is spent on that. So usually I do require my my families to put something down, $10, you know, something, so they do have some skin in the game, yes.
But even in this case, it could be, you know, a deposit that's refundable based on attendance. If you don't,
Yeah.
Donna made a face, so Donna doesn't like the refundable portion from an accounting standpoint. So concept wise, it sounds good. But if you don't deposit it, right, it could be,
Yeah, they just get it back.
they just get their check back.
I like that.
So they put something in, kind of like, you know, you make an appointment somewhere and you put a certain portion down, you actually show up and they don't take the dollars. And it keeps me signing up my 5 kids for 6 weeks and then go, okay, now we change our vacation and then we're out the
Right.
door.
Right.
So we collected something from them to help in that instance. So
I like that.
I do too.
and it's not sustainable, but I really like the idea of let's use this fund to give everybody the option to come to summer camp this year, have a robust staff, to be able to give them a great program, and it introduces our program to, you know, we've got 3 years worth of school age kids who really haven't been to Wellington summer camps yet.
Right.
Is
And
this
then-
money needed by this July 1 to operate camp?
I would think so. Yeah, I mean, Jenny, you probably, are there things that you need to buy in advance of the summer? Or,
A few things. A lot of it we already have. We have more craft supplies than you could ever imagine. Alan and I purchased a bounce house that we'll be able to use over and over and over again for summer camp. So that's going to be a big hit. But there's a few other incidentals and maybe for new activities and things like that, that goes in line with our programming that we will want to purchase.
so we're just thinking about which tranche of money to put it towards, because you could get,
I think we have enough on this one.
yeah, I think we do.
And I'd like to do the town and stuff first, but I think this, it starts July 1, so
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we've got,
Well, and when does camp start?
It starts in July. Excuse me.
So they don't really need it. If they don't need to buy stuff in advance.
we need to pay wages, right? So that's what we, using the dollars
To
would
pay
be to fully
wages.
fund the staff, and by fully funding the staff, we wouldn't need that income
Mhm.
to offset their costs.
Right. And maybe then I start worrying about the next year though, what really like, what's sport finance gonna do to fund it the next year?
But if it's not as though it's a program that, you know, makes $10,000 every year, right? So
Right.
typically it's a wash of programming. What comes in goes out.
Mhm.
And so this year we're saying, we're saying for sure, all the money is coming in so the program can happen
Mhm.
with X number of kids. And then next year,
Do the campership.
Right.
So you're
Right.
taking on there, that's becoming revenue.
but then that, if we take the money in as revenue through the campership, it's just gonna sit in a fund.
Right,
If then there's money that's paying the staff.
right,
So we just built up I worry that it looks like we just built
Right.
up the reserve fund.
right,
Because what comes in for camp usually goes out with camp. They're pretty much a wash.
right.
So if we influx $24,000 of scholarships and then 36, we just made $24,000 for camps in the future. Is that not building up
That is.
a
Well,
fund?
that's why I asked about the budget, the 36,000, I believe the state, they're gonna split that over 3 years. So if you take the 36,000, divide that by 3, does that cover the entire cost of camp or not? If the answer is no, which I suspect it is, you're gonna have to charge somebody something or get it from the campership side as well in order to break even.
Jenny, do you know, like, how did you guys arrive to the 36,000?
So basically what we did was we came up with, we looked at, my historic budget, and we had used around, we picked 11,000 because it was round, but it's usually 11 and change that we use for staffing. And then we picked $1,000 for activities and programs and things for 3 years.
I almost like the concept of similar to what we did with the senior center staffing, where we step it down in the years, the out years, so that it can just stay afloat, going, and that we don't hit a big wall 3 years from now where the funding for it has to come. I mean, I know it doesn't really.
Well, how about if we do this, okay? So, so the summer camp funding, everybody seems to like that, so we can go with that, and I'll just withdraw my proposal for a scholarship.
Maybe. Well,
I
yeah,
think we could talk about it more. I want to see you withdraw it. I think we could, it's, you know, if you're thinking about future years, we could maybe have more discussions about it so that we don't go at this for another couple hours.
yeah.
But I wouldn't want to see it withdrawn.
I think the concept is correct. I think Christina had a sliding scale that, you know, next year you could start to implement the scholarship. as needed.
Like next year could be, you charge half, so instead of $200, it's $100. If people can't afford the $100, they can come for the campership to fill the difference. And then the third year, it's 150, whatever. Same concept, and then after that, it would be go on as normal. Whatever normal is or was. That makes sense. So we don't need the campership this year, but we might need it in the future years.
That's why I don't want to see it withdrawn.
Yeah.
We can.
Well, part of my thinking with doing it this year was also because I knew Alan was having the other camps. And I thought that it would benefit to get people into those programs as well. But I can see that there's some honing that needs to be done. So I'm just gonna, we'll just leave that alone for a while.
So I think it still could happen for some of this year, Jenny, and just like really we'll take a relook at that, but I wouldn't withdraw it and say it can't happen at all, because it could still happen.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, especially for some of those other camps that he's looking at, that might get somebody who, a parent who didn't need summer camp. But wanted
It
to
was
do
a fantastic program in 2015. I sent so many families, single moms that couldn't afford it. I sent their kids to camp. It was great. It was wonderful. And being able to bring this back now when I know more families than ever are struggling, to me, I just think it's a great use of this funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to think that anybody here, I don't think we disagree with it. It's just making sure we're utilizing it in the best way, the best bang for our buck, and then it all gets spent on what we intended it for, that there's not, we don't come to the end and you're giving it back for any reason. That's my whole thinking. So.
And I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, I think they're great programs, and we just have to find the right, make sure we're using it in the right way, that it gets to the right people.
I just wrote Alan and asked him his budget for summer camp, and he just wrote back that it's $4,000. So it's
Yeah,
been my
we'll
impression
take
that
It's not $4,000.
that's what he,
No.
that's just what he wrote me,
No.
and he splits it with human services.
If you want to hold on a second, I'll run to my office and see if I can find it.
It's okay, I think we can
We'll
table
talk
it.
about this in 2 weeks.
Yeah, talk about this again in 2 weeks, and in the meantime, like, I'd be happy to sit down and like just go through the numbers and the plan with you guys offline. I would hope. Yeah. All right, so is there a motion for that then?
I move that we continue discussions on the campership proposal and summer camp supplement projects to our next meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay.
Can I move that we table ARPA 26 and 27 to our next meeting, especially seeing there's no one from the
Yep.
Conservation Commission here?
That's a good. Any second to
I'll
that?
second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just one, who's ever gonna be here or Donna, what's their fund balance? Gonna be out of that. Don't need to answer now, obviously, but that's part of the discussion of. We have conservation funds set aside,
Open space fund.
open space fund. So would the open space fund be applicable to these items or not? Pass them on to who's ever gonna represent them.
All in favor of tabling those?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay. And then the last one is ARPA 28, which is $2,000 for our commission public hearing expenses.
This is a no-brainer.
A no-brainer. Our last meeting cost us
282 or 242, I
282.
think.
So we have to legally warn a public hearing in the newspaper. And there's a cost associated with that. I can tell you the selectmen's budget is well overspent in this line item. So one of the things we can use the funds for is to cover expenses as a result of ARPA funds. And so Christina and I talked, I put in $2,000 to start. I think that could get us for public hearings.
Yeah.
At minimum, and then go from there if we thought we needed more, but this way that we covered the cost of that.
And we just got the first bill in for 242. So.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So is there a motion? Move that one on?
I'll move to move ARPA 28 on to public hearing.
I'll second.
Any discussion about that?
One question, are there any legal expenses we're on the hook for? I know there was some discussions. with the
Well,
lawyers.
there's discussion as to whether or not the commission would be on the hook for, 'em. We could certainly add them to that line item. We're looking the whole can we not have this commission discussion? Cost us at least $1,300. So that's why in bills, so we could,
Does the Board of Finance have a line item for legal expenses?
they sure do. I wouldn't be opposed to them bearing the brunt of some of
I know
that.
about it.
So
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion about it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay. So then we have, next on the agenda is an opportunity to call a public hearing. So I just put this in the agenda in case we wanted to, call a public hearing. And we could, I don't know that we have to do that in the meeting. I think that we can just call it. When, like you and I could have a date and just decide like that's the date to do it. But I just wanted to make sure that that's correct. Is that correct, Robin?
That is correct.
Yeah.
I think it would be discussed at the next meeting. I don't think we're ready to hold a public hearing just yet on what was discussed. I don't know. Do you guys-
And I don't see anything that timely that you need to get it done within the 60
Yeah, the
days.
only thing I was worried about was the camp stuff, that they would need to know sooner than later that it's a go, because they gotta start hiring people.
right. But like I had spoken with Alan at length about this and said they should still be continuing with summer camp in the manner that they had planned. Still hiring staff based on their intended numbers and moving in a regular direction. And then if funding became available in a different manner, then pivot.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, sooner would
And
be
in that,
helpful,
and
but
in that case, though, the public needs to know too.
Right.
So we need to get the word out that it's gonna be free. I mean, that kind of news spreads pretty fast.
yeah, so if we have our next meeting on the 2 weeks from now,
Mhm.
we held a public meeting and I just computer now, looking at the calendar. Sorry, next is the 18th.
Yeah, I think, okay, let's.
And then our
let's wait
meeting
until
after
then.
that would be Monday, May 2nd.
And our next
So-
meeting, we could probably schedule.
Right, so if we wanted to at our next meeting, we could do it on the May 2nd meeting.
Mhm.
And that would give us the 2 weeks to be enough time to get noticed.
Okay, great. All right. So anybody here present to speak? I don't think so. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So we'll.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Thanks. All right, that's it then.